Hey there, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Aisha, and if you've been here before, welcome back. It has been a very long minute. I know, but I am back, and we are back talking a little bit more about life in Australia and what, all the good and the bad and the ugly and all those good things. But in particular, this video, we're getting into 6 particular reasons why one may not want to move to Australia. So if you are interested in some things, some realities about living here that maybe you don't quite know unless you've been here, stick around for this video. So just wanted to be clear, a lot of people name this video like 6 things I hate or whatever about Australia, and I thought that hate was way too strong of a term personally, but I think we all know that there's no such thing as a utopia. There's always going to be some things about a certain area that just don't quite rub right or sit right with somebody. Rub right sounded horrible. Why would I say that? That's so gross. Some things just don't work out for everybody. And this is basically what this video is about, based on my perspective, which brings me to our caveat portion of the video. Y'all, this is all purely based on my perspective and my experience since being here. Obviously, people are going to feel differently, and other people who have lived here for much longer than me or even shorter might even consider the things that I'm about to say to be benefits or not see them as issues at all. But this is from my perspective, so please keep that in mind and know that I'm not stating any of this as fact, just perspective. The legalities out of the way, let's get into reason number 1, which is the distance from everything. Now, of course, I think a lot of people, if you've ever seen a map, you know that Australia is kind of in its own little corner of the planet, and it seems pretty far away from things, but you really don't feel that distance until you've actually been here for a while, particularly when it comes to things like, travel, for example, when you realize that outside of a few very close countries, you're looking at a minimum of usually around 10 to 14 hours to fly anywhere. So that's a whole day of flying. Not really a problem at the moment. Obviously, travel's kind of a bit on a pause right now, but you get my point. Before all this happened, it was really crazy to try to think of going anywhere in the world without having to book an extra amount of time on the beginning or the end of the trip to deal with not only the travel time, but the inevitable jet lag that would follow. The other thing, of course, is that it costs so much to get things shipped here. Because it's so far away, a lot of places, the item might be like $10, but then the shipping is like $30. And you're like, why would I buy something where I'm paying double for the shipping, if not triple? But it's a reality because it is so far away. The other thing that it affects, of course, is time zones. Because Australia is so far ahead of everybody, it does make it quite difficult sometimes to contact people if you have family or friends in North America, in Northern Europe, or just Europe in general. Really the only place that's close to us in time is either New Zealand or a handful of Asian countries. Other than that, you're like a day ahead of everybody else. It's not like the worst thing ever, but I definitely find it quite frustrating. Like I said, I have a lot of family back in North America and the Caribbean, so it's not always the easiest thing to contact them, and vice versa. So just be aware of that if that's something that's pretty important to you. And point number 1 kind of segues into point number 2, which is the fact that there isn't a lot of offerings here in Australia as far as products, and that costs of products are a lot higher. Now, I say that they kind of are tied together because I do think that some of the reason why a lot of things cost a little bit more down here is because they have to be imported. Australia creates quite a bit of things, but they import a lot more. And whenever you're including that extra shipping cost, it just drives the price of things up so much. And you don't really have anything down here like a Walmart or a Dollar Tree or any of those things that we have back in North America or even Europe that are kind of like your discount savings place where you can really get some, the little odds and ends and stuff like that you might need for a discounted price. You basically just have to pay almost full price or take your chances with Amazon or eBay. But even then, there's still this Amazon Australia. What a joke. Okay, the markup on Amazon Australia is disgusting. There's really no other word for it. It's robbery, but sometimes you have no other choice. So it just does make things a little bit more pricey. I mean, you still have IKEA, which is somewhat helpful in keeping your costs down, but it's nowhere near what we have back home, which is quite frustrating. And then the other part of this is also the lack of diversity that they have as far as offerings for just about anything down here. Now, don't get me wrong. they still do, like, you can get all of your necessities in Australia. I want to make sure I'm very clear. You can absolutely get what you need to set up your home and, you know, clothing and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just talking about like having a real variety. Like Australia, like many countries, it kind of has its set of major retailers in any given area. And that's pretty much the only options you have, especially with larger items like furniture and electronics. And then if you want anything else, you'd have to like just literally pay your firstborn child and possibly an internal organ to get that brought here. And then of course, you know, many of you might have noticed that I am a woman of color. I am a sister, a melanin queen. And as a result, I have certain needs, you know, for my hair, for my skin, things like that, that aren't necessarily the same as the majority of people here who tend to be white. And as a result, that means that getting my hands on certain things like hair care products and other types of essentials in that nature are more difficult here. It's not impossible. I'm not going to say a girl can't survive. Obviously, I've been doing all right. But again, compared to what I could get back home with the ease of getting it back home, that might be a caveat just for a certain subset of my watchers. But just know that things like, I mean, when Fenty came here, like that was a godsend, just to give you an idea. But just know that certain diversity of products are not really common here in Australia yet. And to bring them here is either ridiculously expensive or just not even possible. So point number 3 is about size. Sorry guys, it matters. I'm talking about the size of kitchens, guys. What were you thinking? Seriously, lots of things down here, especially when it comes to like houses and like the sizes of roads and things like that, are very Euro sized. Now, hey, in Europe it makes sense because places like England and Ireland and Scotland and a lot of a lot of countries in Europe are smaller. Therefore, they've got to make everything very econo-sized. But we have a lot more space in Australia. Australia is massive, and yet everything in these homes, even actual houses, tend to go by the European sizing. Again, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's definitely functional, but when you're used to having full-size kitchens like I was back in Canada or the US, it really is quite jarring to see how everything is so small here and how they don't believe in counter space. So rare to find a place that actually has places for you to prep your food or to serve anything. It's literally like maybe 2 pieces of counter. And if you're like me and you have to throw a coffee maker on that sucker, that's it. You gotta be like literally prepping food on like a kitchen table or something. So it's kind of nuts. And it's not just in the house, it's also the roads here. Again, coming from Canada, like our roads are huge. They're spacious, they're wide, full of cracks and potholes, but still spacious and wide. And down here, yeah, many of their roads are what would qualify as like laneways or potentially back alleys back in Canada. It is so nerve-wracking. And like, I haven't driven since I've been down here, but honestly, the few times that I have, the narrow streets have made me insane. Like, you literally have these just and like 2-way traffic is supposed to be going down there, plus people are parked on either side, and no. Just no, it's too small. By the way, if you are still watching the video, if you've made it this far, do me a favor and drop a heart emoji in the comments. Just, you know, lets me feel loved and appreciated because I'm a needy girl, okay? Thanks. This 4th one is more about the economy here in Australia, and it's nothing too deep. I'm not gonna get into numbers and all of that, but just the overall fact that a good chunk of the businesses down here are restricted to Australia and New Zealand. And that isn't a bad thing per se. Like, there's still like millions of people here in Australia. They do have a decent economy here that has clearly kept them going. And many of the global companies that they have really just extend into New Zealand and maybe a couple other places nearby. But for the most part, most companies here are pretty much only Australia wide. And the issue with that is if you are in certain industries, like myself being in IT for the most part, or even other types of industry here, you're kind of capped with always having the same kind of audience and the same customer base, etc. And it's quite limited. And that's one of the things that really hurt Australia last year with all of the lockdowns and not being able to necessarily deal with commerce overseas and bring in a lot of things, etc. Because, you know, it's a very isolated place. As I said before, it's not connected to anything else. Again, this may not be a huge thing for a lot of people. But if you are thinking of moving to Australia and entrepreneurship is like your aim, just be aware of the fact that a lot of businesses here are kind of capped to this area. And it's not just because of being Australian, but as I mentioned before, with the taxes, the distance, the issues with shipping and importing and exporting, it just isn't always the easiest place to run a global business from. Point number 5 is the fact that the rumors that you hear abroad that like pretty much everything in Australia can kill you is true. It's very true. Like literally from the wildlife here to the fact that they could potentially be things like typhoons and tsunamis. The tsunami didn't actually hit, by the way, but they warned about it. And then, even to just being in Melbourne and almost being knocked off of the sidewalk by some delivery driver on a Vespa. Like this place can be quite dangerous compared to me coming from little old Canada, where like the most dangerous thing we had to deal with potentially was like a runaway deer. Now, the nice thing is if you live in the city, your chances of interacting with them are so minimal. It's true. But the point is they exist. And if you are living, of course, more towards the rural parts of Australia or closer to like forested areas, the chances of you running into something are definitely higher. It is a real thing. They've got ginormous spiders down here. Like literally the size of your face. Look how big my hand is and look how big my face is. There are spiders that are that size. There are poisonous snakes down here. There are poisonous frogs. If you go into the water, there is aquatic life that is dangerous. You get my point. The country is literally trying to wipe out everybody. Just be aware of that. If you are somebody who is not about that wildlife, if you just like a peaceful and chill, then you might want to stay someplace where, like I said, the most dangerous thing you got to deal with are like the rabbits in your yard eating up all your carrots, okay? In the end, if you feel like you have to move all the way down here, just go to New Zealand, where all you have to worry about is eating pavlova and chilling with hobbits and having to deal with the occasional randy sheep. So that's it, guys. That pretty much are my 6 reasons why I would say maybe moving to Australia may not be for you. As you can see, they weren't that deep. They weren't that scary. Honestly, as I said before, my overall experience here has been great, and I would definitely recommend it to people to live. But those are things that personally, if I could use a magic wand and magically erase these things from existence, that is definitely what I would do. What about you guys? Are there any Australians out there that are watching this video who agree with the things that I'm saying? Are there any other expats who are living here right now who agree with me, or maybe think that I missed a glaringly obvious one? Please go ahead, put those in the comments. I love seeing those comments and interacting with everybody, and hopefully you enjoyed watching this video. If you did and you want to see more about me talking about my life and times and other cool things about my living here in Australia, please subscribe to my channel, because more of those videos are going to be coming very soon. So if you guys made it all the way to the end of the video, please go ahead and give this a thumbs up and continue to stay amazing and stay weird. Until next time, guys.